Middlewares in express.js. This is the most important topic in express.js because if you see this statement, an express application is essentially a series of a middleware function calls. That means express.js is just doing executing all these middleware functions in a sequence. Okay, so if we can't understand what is middleware, that means it's not possible to understand how this express is working really. So okay, without wasting time, let's jump into the topic, and please do practice along with me so that you can understand in detail actually. So yeah, let's start. So finally, simple, what is a middleware? Okay, middleware is nothing but as a function. Okay, a function which can hacks which have access to request and response, and it can invoke the next middleware function. That's it. Simple. So here I will write you a simple function. Okay, the function I'm just giving a name as m1. So if this function have a access to request and response, and at the same time this function have a capacity to invoke the next middleware function. Okay, why we need to invoke the next middleware function, what is that next middleware function, everything we are going to learn. Just I'm explaining the definition. So whatever you can do, so even you can just write console.log hello. Okay, this is the middleware function. So a function which can access request, or it can have a access to change that object as well, and response, and at the same time the next. Okay, sometimes some kind of middlewares have extra parameter, that is error handling also. Okay, that is a different category of a middleware function. It has four parameters. First understand okay how to deal with these three things, and then we can understand the fourth type as well. So, and if you see this is nothing but a middleware function. Okay, now I will show you the definition and I will come back. So an express application is essentially a series of middleware function calls. Okay, note down that point. And now I'm just commenting it, or just I will remove it. No problem, I can write it down again. So if you see, this is a simple express.js application. We have only one route, that is app.get. Okay, so if you compare this definition and this code, you will understand easily. So I will try to explain with some more explanation. So whenever, so our this is the express server, and suppose if we have a client here. So client obviously give a request to the server, and server should send a response, and in between this express server is simply executing the sequence of this middleware function. It's nothing but a simple function. Right now in our application we have only one function, that is the simple route handler. That is request response and response dot send. This is a simple middleware. So in this example we have only one thing, so I'm just removing all other things. Okay, we have only one function. So if you get a request like http, okay, right now our server is up and running at http colon localhost 3000 and forward slash users. Okay, this is what the path users. So we have a request object, and this function has access to request object, and express server is executing this function, and it is sending a response. So this is simply nothing but a middleware. So now you will get a question. Hey Raghu, you said this middleware function should have request and response and the next also, right? As I said, next. But where is next in this simple? So here, one more important thing is that, so if you see, here we are completing request response cycle. That means in a single call, in a single middleware. So once you got the request to the server responsibility is to take some action and send a proper response. Okay, whether you will take one middleware function or 10 middleware functions or 100 middleware functions doesn't matter. So you should send a response. So once you send a response, okay, and if you have only one function and if you don't have to take any other action, so we don't need to use this next, right? Because we have only one simple task. That's why that's why whenever we just build these routes, in general we don't use the next, but this is a middleware. Yes, it can also, if you have, suppose if you have any other middleware function, if you want to execute that without sending a response, you want to execute it, yes, obviously you can use this next, and you can that express server automatically invokes that function. Okay, those things I will explain in detail. So hopefully at least you understand what is a simply middleware. Middleware is a simply a function which can access a request and response, and it has a special parameter that is called next. It will hold the next function which we need to execute, that the express server is ready to execute. Okay, so how it will decide, okay, which function is there, how it will execute, how it will decide which function is need to execute, all those things. Yeah, we can enter into the topic. Okay, fine. This is a simple our middleware function. So here, if you want to execute any middleware function, we have another option. So either this application. So here, I will tell you one more point in the documentation. So there are five types of middlewares. The first one is application level middleware. Second one is a router level middleware. Third one is a error handling middleware, built-in middleware, and third party middleware. Okay. So we can discuss first like what is application level middleware. Then we can enter into each and every topic. Okay, so application level middleware means mainly we have a object, right? This is the application object, right? So you, if you use app.get, app.put, post, delete, or anything, all these are providing a option to execute your middleware function. So now suppose, hey, you said we can execute series of middleware functions. But from last 10 minutes, we are just discussing about one middleware function. Okay, let's go and create some middleware function, make them in a sequence, and let Express server can execute them in a sequence. So okay, let's do that one. So now I'm creating some middleware functions. So I'm just creating a function M1. Okay, as we discussed, it should have access to request, response, and the next function which is there in the queue or stack in a line. Okay, and here I'm just putting, simply for understanding purpose, I'm just putting console.log console.log m1. M1 means a middleware one. Okay, this is the function, but okay, how, because here we know that okay, this is a route handler, so that whenever users send a request to the server, like with /users, okay, that's express server is going to execute this one. But how we can inform to the express server, hey express server, can you please execute this function also, okay, in a sequence. Okay, either you want to execute this function after this get method or before this get method. Okay, anything is possible, but once you finish the request response cycle, there is no meaning to execute a middleware function. So let's execute, let's inform express server, okay, before executing this middleware, you can execute, can you please execute this middleware function also. So how can we inform to the express server? It's very simple. Most of you already know. So if you see app.use, okay, if you just use app.use, and if you just say m1, okay, m1, so at the time, what will happen? What will happen? So right now, as I said, so far we have only one. Now we are putting one more middleware function before our route handler. Okay. So this, the name of this is M1. Okay. Now observe the code properly. Observe the code properly. So whenever we send a request to the server, okay, previously we used to get a user's information, right? So now whether it will print M1 and it will send the user's information, or it will print only M1 or something, so that you can understand the importance of a next function. So right now I didn't call like this, okay, I didn't call like this, I'm just removing, okay, that is very important. So right now, as a developer, I'm thinking that, hey, I have a, this is one middleware function, and again, of course, this is another middleware function. So before executing this middleware function, before just hitting this route, the server should execute my middleware function. That is high priority. And let's see. Already, I'm just running application at port number 3000. So let me send a request to the server. Okay, just a minute. I will take one more time. If you see, okay, we didn't get a response actually. Okay, what happened? It is still like a loading. Let's see what's happening at server side. So server side, we got M1. We got the response like console.log M1. It has executed that statement. Okay, we are happy. But what happened after that? You see, first we said, okay, app.use M1, so that it has executed this M1, and it is executed this line like console.log M1. Okay, after that, what I need to do, because Express server don't know what to do, because we thought, okay, I have a middleware function, this here also I have a middleware function, okay, we thought that, okay, after completing this, you should go and execute the next middleware function, right? But we didn't inform to the Express server. Okay, how we can inform? Hey Express server, so if you see, we didn't inform, that's why after completing this M1, still the server is, the client is waiting for the response, because we didn't finish that client response cycle. Okay, still the server is doing something, but server don't know what to do. It's just hanging. Okay, hanging. So our responsibility is, okay, after finishing M1, hey, you can pick up the next one which is there in the stack. Okay, what I'm saying, what we are saying, after completing M1, you can go and invoke the next function which is there in the stack. Okay, so what is there in the stack? Okay, according to our discussion, this is a M1, this is the route. So let's see whether it is going to execute it or not now. So I'm just hitting one more time. So you see, we got users information, and before that, okay, let me run the server one more time. Maybe you will get confused why we got two times, right? It is not two times. I've sent a request to the server two times. That's why node mon index. So server is up and ready, running, and I have sent a request to the server. Okay, if you see, first it has executed M1. After that, we got the user's information also. That means what happened now? So first it has executed the first middleware function. After that, you said, hey, you can go and execute a next middleware function. So which is there in the next in the queue, like, or a line or a stack, whatever it is. So this is there. So happily it is invoked this one, so that we got the response. Okay, how? Now I hope you understand. So this is a simple middleware function, and of course here if you see this is app.use and this is app.get. Okay, even if you use app.post or something, anything is fine. So app.use, if you pass it, it will execute for each and every request. Okay, so understood or not? Okay, if you understand the just add a comment that I understand the first step or something, or at least note down on your paper, I understand this one. Okay, but without doing practice, you will get more confusion in next few minutes. So pause this video and practice now itself whatever we have discussed, and continue the next one. Okay, fine. I hope you have done a practice and you came back. So now let's see. Okay, so if you don't mention this next, though express is not going to understand what I need to do next. So if you see, if you put a next, that means you're clearly saying that okay, after executing the first one, just go and execute the next one. So that is the beauty. So otherwise we can't invoke this middleware function from this middleware. Now maybe you will get a question, hey Raghu, I want to add three middleware functions. I want to execute those three in a sequence, and then it should go to the get method. Okay, why not? So let's go and add few more things. This is the middleware one. This is middleware two. Okay, this is middleware two. I'm just adding M2. The same way, I'm just adding M3. M3, M3. Okay, if you see here, one more beautiful thing is there. So observe carefully. So M1 is there, here M2 is there, and then M3 is there. So we have defined three middleware functions. And now here I did app.use M1. After that we have this route. Okay, now tell me, just note down your answer on your notebook or somewhere else. What will be the output for this program? So if I run the application, of course application is up and running because we are using Node-man. So if I hit the server one more time, okay, what will be the result in the console.log? Because I'm just put okay, here this is whether it will print M1, M2 and M3, and then it will send a user's information response, or anything else. What is your guess? Okay, observe carefully and try to answer, because if you just guess the answer or try to give the answer, you will learn more. Okay, yeah. So I hope you have noted down your answer. Okay, let's see. Let me execute it and just understand the beauty of these things. So server is up and running. Server is up and running. Okay, and now I'm just hitting the server from the client. Okay, we got the response. That means already it has executed. So if you see, it is just printed only M1. Oh my God! I have defined M1 and M2 and M3, and I said, hey, after completing M1, go for the next one. After completing M2, go for next one. After completing M3, go for next one. But what's the problem? Can anyone guess what was my mistake? Okay, the mistake is, hey, you have defined these functions. Okay, you have defined this function, but you didn't inform to the express.js that hey, just use these two functions also and try execute in a sequence, because the sequence is important, right? You have defined the function, you have defined the middleware function, but you should put that into the queue, right? Sequence of middleware functions, right? So you should add in a sequence, right? So how? So for that you should mention a M1. Otherwise, do one thing for simple understanding. App.use M1. After that, use M2. App.use app.use M3. So now what will happen? So first, Okay, express.js server automatically add this m1 into the line, okay, sequence. M2 will be there in a sequence, M3 will be in a sequence, and so whenever you hit a request to the server, whenever you hit a request to the server, right now we have four things: M1, M1, and M2, then M3, then this is the route actually what we have. So if you see now, if you hit the server, now you will get executed. Okay, we have done m1, we have done m2, we have done m3. After that we got the response. Okay, after that we got the response. That's a beautiful thing. So now you can do one thing. So instead of using app.use multiple times, with one app.use you can add those things in a sequence: m2 and m3. If you see, this is also same. So again, server is up and running. And now just hit the server one more time. So you will get the M1, M2, and M3. And another way is there. Another way is there. Okay. So you can add them in an array. Okay. Array, so that it will. But this syntax will be helpful in another situation. But I'm just trying to explain. So server is up and running again. We don't have any response here so far. Again, I'm just hitting the server. Boom. See the results: M1, M2, M3, and we got the result. So either you can do app.use M1, app.use M2, app.use M3, or you can add M1, M2, M3 directly in one app.use, or you can put an array. So sometimes what will happen, okay, if you have some middlewares from any other file, so at the time, suppose people will try to add M1 and M3. Suppose this M2, just imagine this M2 is a collection of middleware functions. So at the time you can say, hey, I got this array. The first execute is M1, and this in M2 I have lots of middleware functions, so that I want to execute all those things and then go for M3. So in that situation, it will be more and more helpful. So for now, we don't need to put in an array because all these M1, M2, and M3 are there in the same file, so that we don't need to worry. So now understood, this is the second level, because we lots of twists and turns are there. That's why I'm just explaining step by step. Okay, now just practice this thing and come back. Okay, if you understand clearly that how to execute multiple middleware function in a sequence, then you are good. So now you will get a question: hey Raghu, I want this actually, I want to execute, I want to use this one. Okay, let's do one thing. So so right now we have M1, M2, and M3. Okay, M1, M2, and M3. So if you send a request, if you send a request to the client, well, there is no meaning to execute another one, right? So what I'm doing, I'm not sending a response here. I'm not sending a response here. Okay. So instead of that, so what you can do, just put a console.log. Okay. For okay, console.log, am the user's route or something. So I'm not going to send any response to the client. I'm not killing that request response cycle. Okay, let's see. I'm giving a responsibility to some other person to take that action. Okay. So if you see, M1, M2, M3 is there. M1 also we are not stopping that, completing that request response cycle. M2, M3 also. In the same way here, I'm not saying like response.send. So if you use response.send, that cycle will complete. But here I'm not completing. Okay. And I want to inform Express server, hey, once I got a request from the client that I need a user, okay, I want to take another middleware functions help to complete that task. Okay, no problem. No problem. You can do that. Okay, naturally in real time, we don't do it. But okay, here you can. But understanding purpose, learning purpose. Okay, M4. And here I'm just taking so M4, okay, M4. Otherwise, just copy this one and update it. Okay, right now we have four middleware functions. This is M4. This is M4, and I'm going to put this M4 after this user's route, that in a sequence. Okay, so just imagine that, okay, M1, M2, M3 are in a line in a queue. After that, it should go for a user's route. After that, we should execute M4, and we are giving responsibility of finishing that request response cycle to M4, like a finisher, like a Mahendra Singh Dhoni. Okay, so let's see. This is M4. Okay, right now we have only five middlewares, one, two, three, and this is going to be executed in a sequence like a fourth. After that, we should execute this finisher. Okay, so that here observe carefully M4, and you can say response.send. Okay, in the beginning, we understand that middleware is a function which have access to request and response and for the next middleware also. Yes, you can give a responsibility for any middleware to send a response to a client. Okay, there is nothing wrong in that. So if you see here, I'm just saying response.send. Okay, okay, simple. I'm from M4. So the client should receive that message, right? So how to put those things in a sequence, because that is very important. Here M1, M2 and M3. Okay, after that we have defined. So if you see this is important. Okay, how you have invoking, like how you are adding these statements into the sequence, it is going to express.js server will add those things into the sequence. So if you see, I just adding app.use m1 m2 m3. Again here I'm adding app.use m4 m4. That means this express server will understand according to these sequence. Okay, first line number 25, you said m1 m2 m3, then a route is there. Once it is completed, it is also hand over that it is going to invoke the next middleware function, that is m4. So if you change the sequence like m1 m2 m3, you can cut it, and if you just put after this, yes, definitely the sequence will change. So right now we can go with this sequence like m1 m2 m3. After that it should be there in a route. Okay, users route. After that M4. Let's see whether it is there or not. So application is up and running. Nothing is there. Now I'm just hitting users route. Observe carefully. Users route. Hey, I'm from M4. That means request and response came from M4. Okay, that, and at the same time observe carefully here. M1, M2, M3. After that, I'm from users route. Okay. So normally in production applications, always we will give a responsibility to finish that request response cycle to our routes only. But understanding purpose, we have given responsibility for M4. So if you see, it's absolutely working. Okay, understood or not? So if you didn't understand, just do a practice one time for me. Just do practice, because I'm going to add few more twists and turns, so that if you do practice now itself, you can understand those things easily. Okay. Just pause this video and go and do practice and come back. Okay, so hopefully you have done a practice, and hopefully you understand what we are discussing. So I want to change the sequence. Observe carefully. I want to change the sequence. So if I do this app.use here, what will happen? Tell me, what will happen? So the express.js understand, it will put all the middlewares into a one sequence based on this order. So here your order is like the first middleware is this one, and of course it is invoking the next middleware. So now The output will be first I'm from user's route M1 and M2 and M3. Then it will go to M4 and it will complete the request response cycle. Observe carefully. So server is up and running at 3000. Now send the request to the server and observe the sequence. So if you see, previously we got M1, M2, M3, I am from route, user's route and M4. Here the first hit is hitting the user's route, but user route is not taking the responsibility to finish the response cycle, so that it has just handed over to M1, then M1 given to M2, M3, then finally the finisher M4 Mahendra Singh Dhoni came and he just sent a response to this client. How beautiful is this? Okay. So, but normally in whenever we are building any applications, so don't use invoke these things after the routes. Okay. Always keep this our the middlewares which we are writing, right? We are writing all this middleware should be on top. App.use. So here I'm just giving back the responsibility to finish the request response cycle to the router. Hopefully you understand. So this will be the last one. So here response dot send users info and M1, M2, M3. So in M4, okay. Now I will ask one more question. Okay, observe carefully. This is very interesting. So that's why I'm saying like lots of twists and turns are there. So here we have given back that responsibility to this user's route, response.send users information. But in M4, we forgot to remove this line. Okay. But we are executing M4 before this route. Okay. Observe carefully. So M1, M2, and M3, before it coming to user's route, we are invoking M4, and in M4 we are finishing that request response cycle. So now whether user will get response like I am from M4 or it will give a user's information from the route or it will throw some error, what will happen? Just guess it. Because in general we should not do that, because we should execute all the middlewares in a sequence, and the last one should take the responsibility and send the response to the client. But okay, we have written like this. Okay, what will happen? How that express server will handle this? Okay, whether it will throw an error or not, whether it will print I am from M4, after that it will go to this one and again it will send users information. What will happen? What will happen? This is the most important inter equation. So interest, if they want to check whether you really understand the middlewares, so they will try to give this kind of scenario and they will ask what is your results. Okay, so here the important thing is, once you have completed request and response cycle, once you complete request and response cycle, if you want you can do console.logs, or if you want you can execute other functions, but you can't send a response again in a single cycle. Okay, request response cycle is only one thing. Send a request to the server, server will do execute the call middleware functions. Once it has sent a response to the client, okay, and it is not going to send two times or three times or something, so it is not possible. So that request response cycle has completed. After that you can invoke any middlewares, you can do console.logs something, but you can't send a response to the client. Okay, I will explain in detail what I told you now. So if you see, M1, M2, M3 is there, and then M4 is taking the responsibility to finish the response cycle first, and again we have given the same responsibility to users, but M4 is before, M4 is executing before this route. So what will happen? So just practice in the same way how I'm writing so that you will understand easily. So send a request to the server. So we got I'm from M4. The request response has completed. Request response has completed. and M1, M2, M3, M4 also completed. You see, M1, M2, M3, M4 also completed, and it didn't execute the next one. Okay, because okay, of course we didn't call the next one, right? So that no problem, no error. So carefully, we have completed respond.send, and we didn't execute next. That's why it is not reaching the user's route. So if you miss that one, I will add here. Okay, this is M1, M2, M3, M4, and at M4 we said, okay, just send a response to the client. Actually, this is taking the responsibility, and we have users route, and we have informed clearly to the express.js, hey, after completing this M1, execute M2. After completing this one, execute M3. After completing this one, execute M4. But after executing M4, he has sent a response to this client, and we didn't say that execute the next route, so that we don't have any problem now. So this M4 taking the responsibility to send the response to the client, So we got I'm from M4. But now this is very, very important. So if I do next, so if I inform to the express.js server, hey, once M4 send a response to the client, still I want to execute this route. What will happen? Whether it is going to execute this route, or hey, already you have completed request response cycle, how can I execute the next one? Okay, which one? Okay, which one will be the answer from express.js? This is the beauty. This is the beauty. So if you see here, as I said, you can complete the request and response cycle, okay, but that doesn't mean you can't execute another middleware. Yes, you can execute another middleware, but the thing is you can't send a request to the client two times. So here two things are important. After sending the response to the client, is it possible to execute another middleware is the first question. Second question is, okay, if it is possible to execute this one, is it possible to send response second time? So two things are there. The first question is true. That means, yes, after sending a response to the client, still you can execute another middleware. But the second question is, we can't do this. Okay, we can't do this. This will give an error. This will give an error. But this line will execute. This is okay. That means after completing the request response cycle, still you can invoke another middleware, so that we should get users route. Users route. But you can't send a response second time because already request response cycle is completed. So this is the beautiful thing. So let's see, okay, whether it will work. Whether, because whatever I said it is true, we should get a users route information in the console.log. So now I'm hitting boom. So if you see M1, M2 is there, M3 is there, M4 is completed, and then we got the response from I am from M4 because the response came to client from M4. After that, yes, it is going to execute the next middleware. So that's why we got this message. I am users route. I am users route. So if you see, after sending a response to the client, still we can invoke the another route actually. Okay, another middleware. That is possible. But we can't send a response two times to the client. So because already request response cycle has completed. Okay, but how it will respond? So if you see, it is say that a error. Okay, I will expand this one. So it is clearly saying that cannot set handlers after they are sent to the client. Okay? The meaning is, once you have sent a response to the client, you can't send another time. We can't set the headers after they are sent to the client. So this is the most and most important thing. So in general, normally we don't do that. We don't do that. Okay. So once we have sent a request to the or send a response to the client, normally we don't take any action apart from that logs. Okay, loggers. Okay, so we should maintain the logs, right, for the debugging purpose, or in future if something went wrong, we need to get some information to find the solution for those errors. For that, you can use the logs, but normally we don't do this. But we should understand actually how it is working inside the express.js server. Okay, so this is the first part actually. Okay, there are another important things that are there, and of course, if you see, we have application level middleware and route level middleware and error handling middleware, built-in middleware and third-party middleware. Okay, application level middlewares are almost similar to route level middleware. You can understand easily. Just go through this documentation. And error handling middlewares is very important because we should understand how to handle the errors in Express.js server. So for that, we have a error handling middleware. This error handling middleware have an extra parameter apart from request, respond, and next. It have extra parameter, so that what is the advantage of that, so that we can discuss all these things in a next video because it's already too long. Okay, so but what you need to do, please go and read the documentation, because reading the documentation is the most important thing for any developers. Okay? First read this documentation little bit, 10%, 20%, you can understand easily. And then watch my explanation, understand my explanation. And the third one is practice. Okay, practice. After completing that practice, again read the documentation one more time so that you will understand 100%. Okay, so thank you, and see you in the next video. There, I'm going to explain some another twist and turns in this middlewares, and I will finish route level and built-in middleware and third-party middlewares in that second session. And the third session, we can enter into the error handling middleware. Okay, by the time, okay, I recorded this video on Dasara. Okay, happy Dasara to all of you. Okay, by mistake, if you're watching this thing on the same day. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.